Welcome, traveler, to a tale whispered by clouds and sung by the endless sky above our world. This is not a story of swords or battles, but of wonder, wisdom, and the throne of the skies. Long ago, people looked upward, searching for meaning in the rolling thunder and silver stars. They imagined a throne beyond the storms, where the ruler of heavens rested in quiet strength. That throne was called the Skybreaker Throne, the seat of Zeus, keeper of light and harmony. But the throne was not only a symbol of might, it was a mirror of courage and the human spirit. Tonight, we step onto that ancient path where winds carve bridges and clouds form gateways. Our journey begins with a dreamer, an ordinary soul who hears whispers in the rolling thunder. Each whisper calls them higher, toward a place where earth and sky meet in endless horizons. Listen closely, for this is a story of climbing beyond fear and finding the voice of the skies. The throne does not wait for kings, nor warriors, but for hearts brave enough to listen. So settle in, breathe deeply, and let the storm guide you through the clouds of this tale. The sky has always carried secrets, and every breeze seems to whisper them to those who listen closely. In the silence of night, when the stars tremble like lanterns, the heavens lean down to speak softly. Long before books or maps, people turned their gaze upward, searching for signs in the restless sky. They believed the thunder was a voice, not of rage, but of wisdom calling from realms beyond clouds. Every flash of lightning was thought to be a signal, a spark of truth striking across mortal hearts. Legends spoke of a throne hidden above the storms, where the essence of Zeus touched mortal dreams. This throne, the Skybreaker Throne, was not built of stone, but of light woven into endless horizons. Its presence was said to break the silence between humans and the heavens, uniting heart and storm. The story begins not with kings or warriors, but with a quiet soul who dared to listen. This dreamer was no hero in shining armor, no master of weapons, no seeker of power or glory. Instead, they were a wanderer who spent nights watching clouds drift and skies deepen into mystery. The dreamer felt comfort in thunder, as if each rumble carried a secret meant only for gentle ears. One evening, lying beneath an open sky, they felt a hush in the air unlike any they had known. The winds turned still, and the stars flickered as though a great secret prepared to reveal itself. Then came a sound, not loud, not fierce, but steady, like a heartbeat within the folds of the sky. The dreamer closed their eyes, and the sound unfolded into words soft as rain on open fields. It spoke not in human language, but the meaning grew clear within the dreamer's quiet soul. "Climb," the voice whispered. "Climb, for the throne awaits not power, but the seeker of harmony." The dreamer opened their eyes, trembling, not with fear, but with the weight of wonder itself. Could it be true? Was the sky truly calling, offering a path to mystery sung by the thunder? That night, the dreamer did not sleep, for the words circled their thoughts like stars around the moon. The journey would not be through maps or rivers, but through trust in whispers carried on the wind. As dawn painted the mountains gold, the dreamer rose, heart restless, eyes turned toward horizons. They had no companions, no riches, only a quiet belief that the skies had chosen to speak. Each step toward the hills seemed guided, as if the earth itself wanted to lift them higher. Birds circled above, wings flashing silver, and their cries sounded like calls of encouragement. The path was not marked, yet the dreamer felt each turn was carved by the memory of storms. Old tales had said the sky tests not strength of arm, but strength of heart and gentleness of spirit. And so the wanderer walked, with steady breath, as clouds gathered in soft procession overhead. The first riddle of the sky was patience, for the climb was slow, and the wind asked for trust. Each gust pressed against the dreamer like a hand, not to push back, but to steady the steps. Night returned, stars burning brighter than ever, as if closer now, watching the wanderer's path. The voice returned, in the silence between heartbeats, carrying another echo of ancient wisdom. "You seek not the throne itself, but the harmony it holds. For light shines only where hearts listen." The dreamer bowed to the sky, not in worship, but in gratitude. For each word was a lantern within. And so part one of the journey began, not with answers, but with a question that rose like thunder. What is the Skybreaker Throne, if not a place, but a promise waiting to be understood in time? The dreamer did not yet know, but each whisper carried them higher into the embrace of the clouds. The dreamer's call began quietly, like a thread of wind weaving through the branches of early dawn. Each morning carried the same echo, as though the sky itself refused to release its whispered vow. The hills rose in the distance, their ridges veiled in pale mist, glowing faintly beneath the rising sunday. The dreamer felt drawn forward, as though an invisible hand guided every step across the earth. Not once did doubt fully vanish, yet hope burned brighter than fear, lighting the path like a torch. The voice in the thunder had promised a throne, not of conquest, but of harmony and listening. And so the dreamer walked, with no map but faith, no compass but the pull of an unseen horizon. Birdsong drifted from the trees, but even their notes seemed touched by something unearthly. Every sound of nature folded into a greater chorus, as if rehearsing for a meeting with the sky. The dreamer's heart beat in rhythm with that music, steady, patient, and quietly determined. They passed rivers whose waters glittered like threads of glass, flowing gently toward unknown seas. Each crossing felt like a threshold, a reminder that every journey begins with leaving the familiar. The dreamer often paused to gaze upward, where clouds swirled in shapes resembling ancient symbols. Some appeared as crowns, others as bridges, all whispering that the heavens were listening closely. At night, the stars stretched like silver fire across the dark, their light sharp enough to carve paths. The dreamer would lie beneath them, hearing the thunder roll like a distant drum of promise. Each rumble carried meaning, though words were faint, like echoes barely remembered in a dream. Still, the message was clear. Continue, climb, seek. For the throne awaited not the mighty, but the true. On the fourth night, the dreamer dreamed again, this time walking on stairways woven of moonlight. The stairways rose into clouds where voices sang, not in chorus, but in harmonies of kindness. One voice said, "To find the throne, you must first find the courage to walk without knowing the end." Another voice whispered, "To carry the gift of the sky, your heart must remain lighter than fear." The dreamer awoke with tears, not of sorrow, but of awe, as if touched by something eternal. With dawn, the journey resumed, each step an answer to the invitation sung by the heavens. The land began to change, slopes steepened, and winds curled with a strange, guiding intention. Sometimes the path vanished, yet the dreamer knew which stone to step upon, which turn to take. It felt as if the earth itself bent to help, shaping the way with quiet, invisible care. Travelers once spoke of such moments as blessings, the gentle hand of fate beneath weary feet. By the seventh day, the mountains loomed close, their crowns hidden beneath swirling thunderclouds. Lightning shimmered across their peaks, not in anger, but like lanterns leading a soul toward wonder. The dreamer stood still, breath caught, feeling the distance between mortal ground and divine sky. In that silence, the call returned, steady and warm. Climb, for each step is a hymn to the heavens. And so, the dreamer began the ascent, carrying nothing but hope, faith, and the memory of whispers. Every stone carried weight, yet every breath carried light, and together they formed the rhythm of climbing. The dreamer realized the journey was no longer about reaching a place, but about becoming ready. The call of the skies was not loud, but it was constant, patient, and filled with quiet certainty. Thus, part two of the story closed with the dreamer at the foot of the mountains, looking upward. The throne was far, hidden beyond storms, but already the journey had shaped a new kind of strength. The golden path did not appear suddenly, but unfolded slowly, as if the sky itself painted it with care. At first, the dreamer only noticed a faint shimmer where the mountain path curved into the clouds. It was not stone or soil, but something softer, like threads of light woven into a fragile bridge. Each step upon it glowed faintly, leaving trails of gold that faded like whispers into the mist. The air grew warmer, filled with a music that had no instrument, only the rhythm of the sky. The dreamer paused often, not from weariness, but to marvel at the wonder beneath their own feet. The path pulsed as though alive, carrying a heartbeat that matched the beating within the traveler's chest. It felt less like walking and more like being carried, as if the sky itself wished to lift them higher. Birds of light appeared, wings shimmering like dawn, circling gently above the glowing pathway. Their flight drew patterns, forming symbols long forgotten by earthbound tongues, yet still understood. The dreamer realized the path was more than a road. It was a message shaped into living radiance. Each glowing step whispered, "Continue, for every journey is written not in distance, but in courage." The clouds parted around the wanderer, revealing glimpses of valleys far below, bathed in silver haze. The world looked smaller now, distant, like a dream remembered only faintly upon waking. Yet above, the heavens seemed closer, stars flickering even in daylight, watching with quiet intent. The dreamer felt a calmness, deeper than silence, as though embraced by the breath of eternity. At times the path narrowed, dissolving into fragments that required trust to step across the void. But when the dreamer placed a foot forward, new golden strands formed beneath, carrying them onward. It was a lesson without words. Faith was not blind, but a bridge that appeared only when walked. The dreamer whispered thanks to the unseen sky, each step a prayer without ritual, only sincerity. The golden path carried them through veils of mist that shimmered like curtains made of starlight. Within those veils, voices murmured gentle, countless, like every prayer ever spoken to the heavens. The dreamer did not feel watched, but welcomed, as if countless souls cheered softly from beyond. A thought stirred. Perhaps the throne was not only for one, but for all who dared to seek harmony. The path widened again, glowing brighter, until the dreamer stood before an arch of radiant fire. It was not hot, not burning, but warm, like the first touch of sunlight after a long winter's night. Crossing beneath it, the dreamer felt a weight lift, as though burdens carried since childhood dissolved. Every doubt, every hesitation, seemed to melt away, leaving only clarity and quiet strength. The golden path was more than a road. It was a cleansing, a renewal, a shaping of the soul. The traveler continued, step steady, heart light, as the horizon curved into endless luminous bridges. Each bridge led further upward, crossing layers of sky, each glowing with its own hue and melody. One bridge sang like flutes, another hummed like deep drums, and together they wove celestial music. The dreamer walked in awe, realizing the path itself was alive, singing the song of the heavens. At last, after what felt like both moments and eternities, the golden glow softened into twilight. The path ended on a vast platform of light, floating in the open sky, surrounded by rolling thunder. Here, the dreamer understood. The golden path was the first gift, the promise of guidance above. And as they stood in silence, the voice returned once more, calm and eternal as the stars themselves. You have walked the path of light. Remember, every step you take carries a song to the heavens. The dreamer bowed their head, heart swelling with gratitude, ready for whatever lay beyond. The horizon widened into a sea of clouds, soft and endless, glowing faintly beneath the silver sky. From within that sea, figures emerged, beings woven of wind, light, and the shimmer of memory. They moved without sound, their forms shifting like breezes, sometimes human, sometimes only radiance. The dreamer froze, not from fear, but from awe, unsure whether to bow, to speak, or to simply listen. These were the guardians of the horizon, keepers of the threshold between mortal earth and divine sky. They did not brandish weapons, nor did they threaten. Their presence carried only serenity and weight. One guardian stepped closer, its form a cascade of starlight draped in currents of living wind. Its voice was not spoken but felt, a resonance inside the dreamer's chest, like thunder without sound. "Traveler," it said, "you walk where few dare, upon the road between silence and song." The dreamer nodded slowly, words trembling. But the guardian raised a hand woven of light. "No need for fear," it continued. "The throne calls only to those who listen, not to those who conquer." Another guardian appeared, wings made of mist, eyes glowing with the calm of endless skies. It asked a question, not in riddles of confusion, but in echoes of truth, waiting to be acknowledged. "What is harmony to you?" it asked, voice like rainfall over ancient stones. The dreamer thought carefully, heart steady, and answered softly, "It is the meeting of many into one." The guardians shone brighter, their forms rippling with approval, as though the answer carried weight. But the trial was not over. Another stepped forward, tall as a pillar of twilight and dawn combined. Its question carried warmth, yet also gravity. "What burden do you bring upon the winds?" The dreamer closed their eyes, remembering nights of loneliness, days of doubt, and fear of failure. "I bring my doubts," they confessed, "but I bring them honestly, and I carry them with hope." The guardian's radiance trembled like a candle in wind, and then steadied, glowing more gently. "Honesty is the first bridge," it whispered, "for no throne can rest on falsehood." The final guardian approached, smaller than the rest, almost childlike, woven of dawn's first light. It did not ask of strength or burden, but spoke a question as simple as a morning breeze. "Will you listen to the skies, even when silence is their only answer?" The dreamer breathed deeply, then replied, "Yes, for silence itself holds truths words cannot carry." The little guardian smiled, a gesture not of lips but of light, rippling like laughter on clear water. With that, the trial was done, not through battles, but through words, patience, and quiet courage. The guardians circled the dreamer, weaving a spiral of winds that lifted them higher into the sky. Their voices blended, forming a hymn of welcome, a song without language, yet filled with meaning. "You have spoken with sincerity," they said, "and so the horizon opens its gates to you." The clouds parted like curtains of silk, revealing a bridge of lightning arched across the sky. The dreamer stepped forward, heart racing, yet calm, as though carried by unseen hands of trust. Behind them, the guardians faded into mist, returning to their eternal watch over the horizon. Their presence lingered, not as shadows, but as comfort, a reminder that trials need not bear blades. The dreamer walked onward, each step glowing faintly, carrying the memory of voices made of wind. Thus, the fourth chapter closed, not with conquest, but with questions answered in gentle truth. And the wanderer learned that the heavens opened not to the strongest, but to the most sincere. The dreamer stepped onto the sky bridge of echoes, a span of lightning arched gracefully across the clouds. It was wide enough to walk, yet transparent, glowing faintly like crystal lit from within by hidden stars. Every step sent ripples of light through the bridge, as though the sky itself felt the wanderer's presence. The air trembled with sound, not thunder, but voices echoes carried upward by centuries of prayers. Each whisper rose like mist, weaving into melodies that surrounded the dreamer in a chorus of longing. Some voices pleaded for guidance, some for love, some simply for the comfort of being heard. The dreamer slowed, humbled, listening to the countless echoes resonating within the luminous path. The bridge was alive, a vessel of memory, carrying the hopes of humanity into the endless heavens. The wanderer realized the throne was not only about Zeus, but about every soul that ever looked upward. Each voice lingered only briefly, fading into light, yet their meaning settled deep in the dreamer's heart. One voice, gentle and weary, whispered of courage lost, of a desire to rise but not knowing how. Another spoke of joy, laughter shared beneath the stars, a prayer of gratitude rather than need. Together, they formed a living hymn, woven from the countless truths of mortal lives across time. The dreamer felt tears rise, for the echoes were not strangers, but reflections of every human soul. The bridge itself seemed endless, stretching across horizons where clouds rolled like oceans of silver. Yet with every step, the dreamer grew lighter, as though walking not upon lightning but upon music. A thought came softly. Perhaps the throne was not built of storms, but of listening itself. For what greater power exists than the act of hearing every voice, no matter how faint or forgotten? The dreamer paused midway, gazing into the rolling clouds where lightning danced without fury. There, faces seemed to appear for moments. Children, elders, wanderers, then dissolved into mist. The bridge did not frighten. It invited, reminding the traveler that every step carried shared stories. At times, the voices grew louder, swelling into a chorus that vibrated through the dreamer's chest. Then they softened again, like waves retreating, leaving only silence filled with unspoken meaning. The wanderer realized that even silence was an echo, carrying the weight of what hearts could not say. Walking further, the dreamer saw symbols etched in light upon the bridge, glowing softly with each step. They were not words of any language, but impressions: hope, sorrow, love, and forgiveness interwoven. Each symbol pulsed when the traveler's foot touched it, as though acknowledging the heart within. At last, the far end of the bridge appeared, rising into a gateway shaped like an open circle of flame. But the flame did not burn. It shimmered like dawn, warm and welcoming, filled with radiant stillness. Before stepping through, the dreamer turned back, gazing across the path of voices that led them here. They bowed their head, honoring the countless souls whose echoes had guided them across the bridge. The voices quieted, not vanishing, but settling into a hum, like the steady breath of the living sky. The dreamer understood then. The throne was not reached by walking alone, but by carrying many within. With renewed strength, they stepped through the circle of flame, heart open to whatever lay beyond. Behind them, the sky bridge of echoes shimmered brighter, as if blessing the traveler's courage. Thus closed this part of the journey, not with silence, but with a harmony that lingered like eternity. Beyond the circle of flame, the dreamer entered a realm where twilight and dawn danced as equals. The sky shifted constantly, hues of rose, violet, and gold flowing together like rivers of endless time. This was the sanctuary of winds, a place where the breath of gods and mortals mingled without division. Air shimmered with unseen currents, weaving invisible patterns that could be felt more than seen. Each breeze carried a note, soft as flute or deep as drum, creating a vast and living symphony. The dreamer stood still, heart steadying, listening to the harmony, born from countless directions. No one spoke here, for words seemed too heavy, unable to match the lightness of the wind's song. Yet the sanctuary was not empty. Presences lingered, gentle and unseen, guiding without being seen. The traveler walked slowly, every step stirring whispers in the air, as though the ground remembered. Above, flocks of silver-winged birds moved as one, drawing shapes that dissolved into the horizon. The wind seemed to test the wanderer, shifting directions, asking silently if they could walk with grace. Sometimes the breezes pushed gently, sometimes pulled, as though measuring balance and intention. The dreamer did not resist, but flowed, moving not against the air but with it, like a leaf on a stream. As the journey deepened, the sanctuary revealed chambers formed of swirling winds and calm centers. One chamber spun quickly, its currents harsh, demanding calm. Within chaos to step forward unharmed. The wanderer closed their eyes, breathing with the wind, until the storm softened and opened the way. Another chamber lay utterly still. No motion, no sound, only silence, pressing heavily upon the traveler. Here the trial was patience, learning to move without force, respecting stillness as much as motion. Step by step, the dreamer passed through, honoring the balance between storm and quiet. At last, the sanctuary opened into a clearing of air so pure it gleamed like crystal, untouched by time. In the center rose a column of wind, spiraling endlessly upward, a pillar binding sky to unseen heights. The dreamer approached, feeling the pull, not of gravity, but of invitation, gentle, yet undeniable. Voices of the wind gathered again, but this time they spoke directly, layered in tones of unity. "Traveler," the current sang, "to ascend, you must release what anchors you to weight and shadow. The wanderer hesitated, knowing the winds did not ask for possessions, but for burdens unseen. Memories surfaced moments of failure, doubts carried like stones, fears whispered in lonely nights. The dreamer knelt, hands open, letting those memories rise into the currents without shame. The winds accepted them, not erasing but transforming them into glimmers of silver that drifted upward. With each release, the traveler felt lighter, as though bones themselves were becoming wings. The column of wind brightened, swirling faster, waiting for the final step of surrender. The wanderer spoke aloud. "I am not empty, but I am open. Let me rise, not for myself, but for all." At those words, the winds surged, lifting the dreamer gently into the spiraling column. There was no fear, only trust, as the sanctuary sang in voices like countless chimes in the sky. Upward they rose, carried not by strength, but by harmony, their spirit woven into the song of air. As the pillar lifted them higher, the sanctuary below shimmered and folded back into endless horizon. The dreamer did not look down, for their eyes were drawn upward, where light broke into radiant gates. Thus ended the passage through the sanctuary of winds, a trial not of conquest, but of surrender. And the traveler carried forward the lesson. Only those who release can truly rise into the heavens. The dreamer emerged from the pillar of wind into a sky unlike any before, vast and glowing with starlight. Here was the celestial garden, suspended in the heavens, where time itself seemed to pause and listen. Clouds were shaped into blossoms, petals of silver drifting gently, dissolving into streams of radiance. Every step awakened the garden, as flowers of light opened, revealing colors never seen on earth. The air carried fragrance not of earth, but of memory scents tied to moments of joy and tenderness. The wanderer inhaled deeply, feeling the fragrance stir forgotten laughter and long quiet songs within. Rivers of liquid light ran between the blossoms, flowing endlessly toward the horizon of constellations. Creatures of pure shimmer moved gracefully, not beasts, but gentle sparks of awareness in living form. They glanced at the dreamer with eyes like galaxies, curious yet welcoming, as if greeting a kindred. The garden did not test with storm or silence, but with beauty so profound it asked for reverence. The wanderer walked slowly, careful not to disturb, honoring the stillness that thrummed beneath it all. Everywhere, constellations reflected upon the rivers, creating pathways that led deeper into the garden. At the center lay a great tree, its branches spanning the entire dome of heaven, roots lost in mist. Its leaves shimmered like fragments of aurora, shifting between colors with each breath of the sky. The dreamer approached, and the tree stirred, leaves rustling though no wind touched them. A voice rose from its trunk, deep and resonant, like the echo of mountains speaking across eternity. "Traveler, you walk among wonders," the tree said, "but beauty is not for possession. It is for respect." The wanderer bowed their head, acknowledging that truth, feeling small yet embraced by the vastness. The tree continued, "Many seek the throne believing it grants dominion. Yet true dominion is service." The dreamer's heart trembled, for the lesson was simple, yet heavy with the weight of responsibility. "Do you walk for glory?" the tree asked, "or for harmony that binds the skies and souls alike?" The wanderer answered softly, "I walk not to claim, but to witness, and to carry what I learn onward." At this, the garden stirred, blossoms glowing brighter, rivers singing in tones of crystalline joy. The creatures danced lightly across the air, scattering sparks that became new constellations above. The tree seemed to smile, its leaves glowing gold, as though warmed by the dreamer's sincerity. "Then take this gift," it said, as a single leaf descended, glowing with the brilliance of morning. The leaf was not for power, but for memory, to remind the traveler of humility before beauty eternal. The wanderer caught it gently, cradling it with both hands, feeling warmth seep into their spirit. The leaf dissolved into light, vanishing, yet leaving a spark within that could not be extinguished. The dreamer understood. The throne was not reached by grasping, but by receiving with open heart. As the lesson settled, the garden opened further, pathways of starlight stretching in many directions. The wanderer chose the path that led upward, where the constellations aligned into a radiant gate. Behind, the celestial garden shimmered, its wonders eternal, its gift carried now within the soul. Ahead, the stars beckoned, not as distant fires, but as companions guiding the traveler onward. Thus ended the passage through the garden, with beauty acknowledged and humility embraced, and the wanderer carried forward the truth. Reverence opens doors that force never can. The path of starlight carried the dreamer into a realm where silence was vast, deep, and infinite. This was the astral hall, a place where galaxies themselves drifted like lanterns in a cosmic sea. Nebulas unfurled in slow motion, their colors blooming across the horizon like eternal blossoms. The dreamer walked upon no ground, yet was held aloft by threads of light woven from constellations. Each step formed ripples across the stars, as though the universe acknowledged the traveler's journey. The hall was endless, yet not empty, filled with presences that shone brighter than any mortal flame. These were the astral witnesses, guardians of memory, keepers of the sky's eternal record. They stood like figures, sculpted from galaxies, their eyes burning with the wisdom of countless ages. The dreamer felt no fear, only awe, for their presence was not judgmental but profoundly watchful. One witness stepped forward, its voice layered with echoes that sounded like 1,000 bells. "Traveler," it intoned, "you stand where time and eternity embrace. Here we weigh truth, not might." The wanderer bowed, understanding that strength had no weight in a place built of memory and stars. The witness stretched a hand, and a sphere of light appeared, glowing with threads of shifting scenes. Within it played the dreamer's life, moments bright and dark, all woven together without distortion. There were victories, but also failures, kindnesses, but also mistakes, truths carried, and truths denied. The dreamer's breath trembled, for nothing could be hidden. The light revealed, all without judgment. The witness asked gently, "Will you accept yourself as you are, without wishing to erase the shadows?" The wanderer closed their eyes and answered, "Yes, for the shadows prove the light, and both are me." The sphere pulsed warmly, then dissolved, scattering its light into the witness's endless form. A second witness appeared, voice soft, as though spoken through the hush of distant galaxies. "Do you walk with pride alone?" it asked. "Or do you carry others within your steps?" The dreamer recalled the voices of the sky bridge, the leaf of the celestial garden, the winds released. "I walk with many," they said, "for their stories are in me, and I cannot climb without their song." The stars around them brightened, constellations shifting as though bowing in agreement. The final witness emerged, radiant, vast, its form so luminous the dreamer shielded their gaze. It spoke with the tone of eternity. "The throne does not crown rulers, it crowns servants of harmony." The wanderer answered without hesitation, "Then I will serve, not by command, but by listening." Silence followed, deep and complete, until the witnesses raised their hands in unison. A corridor of light unfurled, formed of galaxies aligned into a radiant path stretching forward. "Traveler," they said together, "you have faced yourself, and in truth, you may walk onward." The dreamer stepped into the corridor, carried not by arrogance, but by quiet acceptance. Behind, the astral hall shimmered, eternal, watching, holding memory for all who would ever rise. Ahead, the corridor opened into a gate shaped like a crown of stars burning with gentle fire. The wanderer did not rush, but walked slowly, each step echoing with the weight of their choices. Thus ended the passage through the astral hall, where self was revealed and accepted fully, and the dreamer carried forward the lesson. Only those who embrace their whole truth may continue. The corridor of galaxies carried the dreamer into a realm where sound itself became a living presence. This was the harmonic veil, a place where every breath and thought resonated as chords of music. The air shimmered with tones, weaving melodies that danced like ribbons across the endless sky. Each step the wanderer took produced a note, blending seamlessly into the veil's vast symphony. It was not silence that reigned here, but harmony. balanced between countless unseen voices. The dreamer paused, listening, realizing the music was not random but shaped by intention. Each sound reflected not just movement, but feeling, turning emotions into shimmering soundscapes. As wonder stirred within, a choir of luminous figures appeared, woven entirely from resonant tones. They glowed like instruments made of light, their forms shifting between harps, flutes, and voices. They sang not words, but truths, the kind that bypassed language and entered directly into the soul. The dreamer felt memories rise as song, laughter of friends, whispers of loss, echoes of hope. One figure approached, its voice soft as a distant harp, asking without words, "Will you join?" The wanderer hesitated, unsure, then placed a hand upon their heart and exhaled slowly. From that breath came a single note, trembling but true, entering the veil's vast harmony. The note did not vanish but was lifted, woven, carried by the choir into a greater melody. The dreamer realized their small sound, alone fragile, became eternal when joined with others. The luminous figures circled closer, their music swelling into crescendos of light and meaning. Another figure asked, its tone like a low drumbeat, steady and grounding, "Whom do you sing for?" The dreamer answered, voice quiet but strong, "For those who came before, and for those to come." The veil brightened, as if the universe itself approved, stars pulsing to the rhythm of the choir. Music gathered into rivers of sound, flowing like waterfalls into valleys of infinite resonance. The wanderer stepped into the river, feeling vibrations course through bone, breath, and spirit. The river carried no weight, but lifted, guiding the dreamer deeper into the heart of the veil. There, a great lyre stood, strings spanning from earth to stars, shimmering with every vibration. It was not built, but born, a cosmic instrument binding together the music of creation. The dreamer approached reverently, placing fingers upon its glowing strings. The strings answered, releasing a chord so vast it rippled through every star in the heavens. The choir bowed, their forms dissolving back into tones, leaving only the lyre and the wanderer. A voice arose from the lyre itself, ancient and tender. "The throne belongs not to silence, but to song." The dreamer's eyes filled with light, as the truth echoed leadership was resonance, not command. "To sit upon the Skybreaker throne," the lyre whispered, "is to be attuned, not exalted." The wanderer strummed once more, sending forth a melody that merged with the veil's eternal music. That sound became a promise, carried outward into galaxies, a vow to listen before leading. The lyre strings loosened, dissolving into threads of starlight, wrapping around the dreamer's arms. They hummed softly, a gift of harmony, to carry into whatever realms lay ahead. As the last notes faded, the harmonic veil opened into an arch of glowing chords. Beyond it, silence returned, waiting for the next trial, yet humming faintly with remembered song. Thus ended the passage through the harmonic veil, where the lesson of harmony was given. And the dreamer walked onward, carrying music not as power, but as promise to the skies. The dreamer emerged from the harmonic veil into a stillness deeper than silence, vast and unbroken. Before them rose a staircase of light, each step carved from dawn, ascending into infinity. This was the final ascent, where the Skybreaker Throne of Zeus awaited among the highest stars. The wanderer's heart trembled, not with fear, but with the gravity of what lay before them. Every trial had led to this moment. Wind, garden, hall, and vale, each offering its lesson. The stairs glowed softly, inviting but solemn, as though aware of the weight they carried. The dreamer placed one foot upon the first step, feeling the hum of creation vibrate within. Each ascent revealed visions, echoes of gods, mortals, and dreams intertwined across time. On one step, the storm of ages raged, showing thunder once wielded by Zeus himself. On another, mortals prayed beneath skies, their voices rising like fragile flames of hope. Higher still, the constellations bent, forming patterns that shifted with each heartbeat. The wanderer understood. The throne was not a seat of power, but of connection. Every step bound them closer to the skies, weaving them into the fabric of all that is. At last, the summit revealed itself a vast platform of clouds turned to crystal. Upon it stood the Skybreaker Throne, immense, radiant, yet humble in its stillness. It was carved not of gold or stone, but of storms stilled into harmony, thunder tamed. Lightning coiled gently around its form, more guardian than weapon, alive yet calm. The dreamer approached, each step an echo of the lessons carried from every realm. The winds whispered, balance. The garden murmured, reverence. The hall intoned, truth. The veils sang, harmony. Together they formed a chorus within the wanderer's spirit. The throne pulsed as if listening, its light brightening in recognition of the journey. The dreamer bowed deeply, not daring to sit until their heart aligned with its essence. "Why do you come?" asked the voice of the throne, deep as thunder, soft as rain. The wanderer answered, "Not to command, but to serve. Not to rule, but to listen." The lightning coiled tighter, then loosened, weaving a crown of light above the throne. The throne spoke again. "To sit here is to carry storms without unleashing them. Do you accept?" The dreamer placed a hand upon the throne's arm, and the storm surged, yet did not strike. "I accept," they whispered. "To hold without grasping, to guide without binding." At once, the throne stilled, and the heavens above blazed in a brilliance unending. Stars aligned into arcs of fire, singing with voices that spanned galaxies. The wanderer felt the universe flow through them, not as dominion, but as shared breath. They sat at last, not as conqueror, but as custodian of balance between sky and soul. The lightning crowned them, not with power, but with responsibility, gentle and immense. From the throne came not thunder, but calm, the stormbreaker's gift of peace. The dreamer looked outward, seeing all realms at once, each trial glowing like a star. And they knew the throne was not an ending, but a beginning of eternal listening. The skies quieted, yet within the stillness sang every wind, blossom, star, and note. The dreamer closed their eyes, at one with the infinite, crowned not by force, but by harmony. Thus was the Skybreaker Throne of Zeus fulfilled, not in power claimed, but in balance kept. And the wanderer, once seeker, now guardian, held the skies in reverent embrace forevermore.